If you're a pet photographer, I have no doubt that you already know today's guest, Nicole Begley. She runs the Hair of the Dog Academy and hosts the Hair of the Dog podcast. But if you're not a pet photographer, you're still going to want to stick around for today's conversation because Nicole and I are talking all things charitable marketing. So Nicole actually runs a foundation that is a wildlife conservation foundation. She's going to talk a little bit about it at the very end. But that was not her first foray into marketing her business using charitable giving as a way to kind of intersect putting her business out there, getting her name out there, but doing so in a way that was a little gentler and got her in touch with people who shared similar values to hers, which you've heard me talk about bluebird clients before. Your bluebirds, one of the main things that defines your ideal clients is going to be the fact that you have shared values. So charitable marketing can be a really great way to connect with those people. And if you're doing it locally in your community, it's also a wonderful way to establish a more personal connection than you typically can in the wide world of social media. So Nicole is going to be sharing a lot of kind of brass tacks ways that you can get started with charitable marketing, or if you have tried doing some charitable marketing before and it hasn't really gotten traction, she's talking through some of the mistakes that people make and some of the ways that you can correct for that. So it's a great episode. I know you're going to love this one. So I will cue the music. Welcome to This Can't Be That Hard. My name is Anami Tonkin, and I help photographers run profitable, sustainable businesses that they love. Each week on the podcast, I cover simple, actionable strategies and systems that photographers at every level of experience can use to earn more money in a more sustainable way. Running a photography business doesn't have to be that hard. You can do it, and I can show you how. Nicole Begley, welcome to This Can't Be That Hard. It has been a long time coming having you as a guest on the podcast. And it's a shame. You are my, essentially down the street neighbor in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're just a couple hours apart, but this is the first time that we're having a face-to-face conversation. So this is going to be a good one.
It's crazy. Thanks for having me. It's been one of those things. I'm like, we have so many mutual friends. I'm like, we need to connect. We need to connect. And life just keeps rolling.
I know.
And here we are.
Absolutely. It's okay. Better late than never, right? We're just at the beginning of a new friendship. So that's always nice. I feel like I have heard your name and the name of your podcast, which is amazing. Hair of the Dog is such a great name, business name, podcast name, all that stuff from my sort of small but growing number of pet photography friends and students, and you're just kind of out there killing it in this. So I'm not going to bother introducing you. I want you to introduce you. Tell everybody who's listening, if they're not familiar with you, who you are and a little bit more about your business.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Nicole Begley. I used to be a zoological animal trainer. That was my first career out of college. Spent 13 years working with free flight birds and seals and primates and all sorts of cool animals.
So cool.
And it was so fun until I got to a point where it was like, oh, wait, like you don't get into the zoo world for the money. Like, let's just get that clear. It's like, looking at what you're paying. Like I was pregnant with my second child. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working my entire job as an assistant director of animal programs to pay for daycare in a job where I was like no longer loving it just because of like personality management conflicts. So it's like, oh man, what am I going to do? Because it's time to move on. And I always had this entrepreneurial bug. So became a photographer. At the time I did families and thinking pets would be like a fun side thing. This was 2010. Yeah. So pet photography was like, there were like 3 people in Seattle. That was it. And, yeah. And then by 2015, I rebranded and went pet specific, which was terrifying because so much of my family business, I did nothing to market it at that point. It was all word of mouth. Yeah. It was, $3,000 averages doing beautiful wall art for these families. And I liked it. I didn't not like it, but I loved the pet stuff. And I knew I wanted to go more there. So I made that decision to kind of rebrand at that point and go all in. Terrifying, totally worth it. And now I still serve a handful of clients here in Charlotte, North Carolina, pet and equine clients. And I also run Hair of the Dog, which is a education site for pet photographers for the craft, but then also education for business. And the Hair of the Dog podcast is really not just for pet photographers. The podcast is so much on the mindset required to like be successful in this business, as well as a lot of business stuff. Like I love business. I love pricing. I love numbers. You and I can geek out over all the business stuff, I think, for hours.
I know. I'm sitting here. It's like my smile is getting bigger and bigger. And I mean, it sounds like we have lots to talk about. So one of these days we're going to have to like arrange a meetup. But we started it around the same time. I also got started in 2010, stayed on the family track. Also love photographing pets, usually with their people. So, but that I have no doubt that we could cover any number of topics, and what we'll have to do is just make that happen over time. But today I am really excited to talk to you specifically about something that you have kind of gone deep on, which is charitable marketing and using that as sort of a really creative and also beneficial, mutually beneficial way to grow your business. So tell us a little bit about how you got into that and what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. I built my business with charitable marketing, hands down. And it's such a fun way to do this. So, when you're starting out and you're like, okay, I have this business, I have friends and family, like, how the heck do I market this? And how can you market it in a way that really just feels good? Because so much, like we just mentioned, so much of the success in this business is about what we're thinking about ourselves and our worth. And are we like actually, I think so many people have these like marketing money hangups of they can't ask or let people know about what they're offering because they feel like, since I love doing this, like I don't really deserve to get paid to do this, or by me putting it out there, I'm going to put people in an awkward situation. Or like, well, no, they're going to say yes or no. So like by not marketing, you're actually being, I think, selfish because you're withholding the gift of someone to get beautiful photos of their family or their dog or their high school senior or whatever it is. So get out of your head, get out there marketing. But charitable marketing, I think, is a great way to ease into that, where you can make it about something bigger than just, hey, here's my offer of my business.
Right.
Yeah. So one of the first ways that I started was actually silent auction. So we can kind of dive into like all these little sections, but the main, really 3 ways: silent auction, donations. I did some like little, I called them micro sessions, like the 20-minute kind of fundraiser sessions. And then I've done all sorts of, like I would call them session fee fundraisers. So we can start to dive into each one of those.
I'd love to. Yeah. And I've got some experience of my own in these areas, and I've got questions to ask you about, like, because I think that this can be done well, and I think that it can be done not well.
Yes.
And I think that knowing the difference is important as you consider this as a potential strategy.
Yeah. And then also keeping track too of what does success look like for you? Like, what are your non-negotiables? How much money do you want to make? What's your time frame that you want to put into this? Like, how many are too many to shoot in one day? What do you want this to look like? Like, you need to define these things, which sometimes the only way to figure out what you want it to actually look like is to test a whole bunch of things and be like, oh, I don't want it to look like this. Never mind. No, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. Okay. So let's start with silent auctions, because it sounds like that was maybe the very first on the timeline. That's where that started. Yeah,
absolutely. So easy. And with this and with any of this charitable marketing, it's like a triple win. So you're going to win because you're going to get a new great client. You're going to make money for the charity, so they win. And then your client wins because they are not only helping the charity they love, but they're also receiving what they value and love, which is your services. So like everybody wins in this situation. So get out of your head and just get it out there and start making these connections. So silent auctions generally are charities, events have these galas where they have a silent auction. They get all these donations from different businesses or people in the community, and they auction it off. It can be a live auction, or generally what I donate to is the silent auction, where people are just like writing down their bid. People are outbidding each other. And then at the end of the night, whoever is going to pay the most money gets the item. So I've always done that. The one caveat, big mistake that I see a lot of photographers make is they will often donate a session fee and an 8x10.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there are different business models out there. We already talked about scheduling a pricing talk because there's so many different fun things to talk about here.
Yeah.
But generally, I don't think there's a lot of photographers out there that their goal for their session is to sell one 8x10.
Right.
So I highly recommend, if you're going to do a silent auction, that it is a product credit. And it could be a product credit of like your smallest wall piece.
Mm-hmm.
Or at the very least, maybe if your 8x10 is $150, your product credit's $200.
Right.
So there's a little bit more on the table. And it's like, with your psychology, the client psychology, when you start to do that too, like when they're buying a session and an 8x10 print, they're already thinking like, oh, I'm going to go book the session and get an 8x10 print.
And that's the whole thing. That's the whole like, enchilada.
Put that bow on it. We are done. That's going to be great. I'm so excited. Where if it's a product credit, you can start your conversation with, how do you want to display your images? Most of my clients choose to do something for their wall and their album and this and that. And you can start painting this picture of possibility for them.
Right.
Where the sky's the limit. And in my experience, when you donate to silent auctions, I'd say maybe 60% actually book it. Like 40% maybe just never contact you. And some charities will give you the contact information to follow up with. Others won't because of privacy reasons. Whatever. You're not really out anything. It didn't cost you anything to participate in this.
Right.
And then of those 60% that actually follow through, man, 90% are my target client or more, like reaching that, whatever your average sale is. And I would say, non-scientifically, not tracked just off the top of my head, 7 out of my top 10 highest sales have been silent auctions over the years.
Wow. So let me ask you this, because I think one of the traps that I see people falling into with silent auctions, if they don't create a giveaway that is kind of an entire package, like the session fee plus an 8x10, if they do something like a print credit, or when you do something like a print credit, how do you communicate at the auction before somebody's bid on it and then is like, oh, how much more do I have to spend? Oh, I'm not interested. How do you communicate that this is going to be a bigger investment overall beyond just saying like, it's just a print credit? Or do you?
I've done that, I think, in numerous ways. So I choose my charities for my silent auctions very carefully.
Definitely.
I'm not doing raffles where it's like, here's a ticket, I drop it in. I'm not really invested in this.
Right.
Like my rule of thumb in my business is someone has to pay someone something somewhat significant to get in front of my lens. Like I don't photograph people for free because they're not valuing it at this point in my business. So some things I have done is I have put a little pricing, like really pretty folded piece with just some basic like wall art pricing, album pricing out. I've also not, and I didn't notice the difference at all in the result because I go through my client process is very education heavy from the first time they come to my website, they see the artwork. The item that I'm displaying is a beautiful art piece. Like everything that they are seeing is luxury. When they win, when they win, they get like this. Marathon Press did it. I don't think they're doing it anymore, but they have some amazing, cool pieces. But it was like an 8-fold little thing that like, it was like a present they just kept unwrapping. And then their certificate was in the middle. So it was like, they knew this was going to be an experience from the very beginning. And I always had it too, because I knew my numbers. I knew what my average sale would be. I knew that I could afford to, if someone were to come and just buy that lowest piece of wall art, like I could afford that $200 out of my business. It wouldn't close my doors. So I was willing to have a higher amount that they would win. It was usually like a $500 wall art credit. So I took it further that it wasn't even a product credit. It was a wall art credit.
Right. Nice.
Like, this is what we're doing. We're doing wall art. And so, yeah, they could take that 11x14, but through my process, when I'm asking them for what walls are you considering, and we're going through and we're talking about the possibility, and I'm showing them the different sizes and they're seeing their beautiful images. And then we're talking about albums. Like they've almost always added on. I think I don't think in all my years anyone has ever taken just the freebie. I think the smallest has been they've added on like $500, but I mean the largest was $7,000 sale.
Right.
So, I mean, I love my silent auction clients.
It's a good spectrum. Yeah, I have done lots of auction sort of things over the years, and I'm right there with you. Like the number one thing really is to choose your auctions wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that part of that, and you kind of hinted at this, is finding out what your rights, if that's really the right
Mm-hmm.
phrase, but what they are willing, like how the auction is going to work in terms of what you have access to. So I think it's really nice to have access to information. Sometimes you'll be able to get access not just to the winner, but anyone who bid on your item, and then you can follow up with them and maybe make some sort of offer. I think that there are lots of ways to leverage that in a bigger way. I ended up, and I'll make this really short, but I ended up after several times contributing just some kind of a session type offer, which is just one, you end up with one client per auction. I ended up doing this thing where I was offering a class on how to, use your fancy camera, whatever. And the person who won could invite 7 of their friends. And so I was teaching these little classes in somebody's house. They weren't ending up with any sort of product. It was a fun event, but it was a great marketing tool for me. So that was also, and it was different from what all the other photographers were including. But that auction sort of space is such a great way to not only show up and be like, here I am, I'm donating something. People appreciate that. You have a like cause that you care about. And then, people who are going to silent auctions have money to spend. So it's to your point, a win-win.
For sure. Yeah. It's usually a target rich environment.
Yeah.
And I encourage you too to think about outside of your genre. So I'm a pet photographer. So people immediately are like, okay, the big rescue. Mm-hmm. Well, people that support the opera might also have dogs, or the medical galas. Same thing if you're a family photographer. I know one of the best ones that I had was I was in Pittsburgh, and it was a local hero hockey player that basically saved the Pittsburgh Penguins. There's Mary Lemieux's fundraiser for his little Austin's Playroom. It was like a ladies' luncheon. That was the best one year after year after year. Because it's, these ladies that are supporting this great philanthropy, and they're doing it at a lunch, and it's a smaller group, but it was great. The other great one for high school senior photographers, or even as an equine photographer, was the more expensive private schools when they would have their galas. I got a lot of equine high school senior clients that way.
Nice.
So think outside of your specific little niche of galas, and think about all the different events going on in your market.
So good. Love all of that. Okay. So step 1 is auctions, silent auctions, galas. Step 2.
Yep. Step 2, I just want to go kind of high level over this one, because it is maybe not necessarily the easiest or the most financially viable, which is doing those mini session type things, or the micro sessions, I like to call them. They are good if you are maybe earlier in your business and you're like, man, I just need to get some awareness marketing. I need to get my name out there. I need to have these businesses and the charity just kind of like marketing this for me and getting some people. It is a little bit of a lower price point when you're doing a 20-minute session than when you're full boutique experience. And it's a lot of work, but it can still be profitable. Yeah. So you need to kind of do the numbers and the pros and cons. But that is a great way to kind of start. It's also a good way to kind of dip your toe into like, how much is too much? Do I want to do these kinds of mini session things? Yeah. Or is it like, oh gosh, no, I don't want to do this. So it's just a kind of a fun way to make some money, test the waters.
Yeah. And you're saying that in terms of charitable marketing, because when you were doing those, there was like some portion of the proceeds went to.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So the way I had it set up was that the session fee, or a portion of the session fee, which was like $35 per dog. So it was dog only. The keys here is I made sure it was different than my normal full session offerings. Yeah. So like I was shooting on location with the dog and their family for my full sessions. This was dog only studio sessions. one dog per slot. If they had multiple dogs, they could just book multiple slots, $35 per dog. And that $35 was a donation to the Humane Society. So they would help, and then they would purchase, prints, digital files, and some canvas. I had a couple like little collections, like $1.99,
Mm-hmm.
$4.99, and like $6.99 or something like that. So yeah, so it was a good day. And the key there is make it different. Watch your time. So having things streamlined. So like for a regular session, I'm doing a pre-consultation call. For these, no, you're getting an email with all the things. When you sign up, you're signing your contract, you're choosing your time, you're giving me your information all on a form.
Yep.
Like it's a lot more streamlined and automated. So I'm not spending the time. Like all the information about it is on that registration page. I don't need to be calling people, building the value, talking about their dog, to get them excited for the experience. It's like, here's what it is, book it or not.
It's more transactional.
Yeah. So make it different than your regular sessions. Make sure your time is streamlined, or really like the two big keys for those.
Absolutely. And then that brings us to the third.
Yeah, the session fee fundraiser, which this is essentially a way to get a handful of regular like signature session clients when you don't have the list to market to yet. So you are, say, partnering with, again, it could be any kind of event. Generally, I'm a pet photographer, so I would be partnering with, I found actually smaller to medium-sized rescues even more beneficial than like the really big ones, because my donation to them goes a lot further to their budget. Yeah. Whereas, our big Western Pennsylvania Humane Society or Charlotte Mecklenburg County, like they have a huge budget.
Right.
So me donating $500 or $1,000, it's like, great, thanks. It's helpful. But to a small rescue, that's like really helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah. And so I've also found the supporters of the small to medium-sized rescues are like rabidly in love with their organization. Yes. Yeah. So when you are then doing something for this rescue, oh my gosh, they love you. So it's a great way to, again, support the rescue. They make money, just build so much goodwill in the community and get some great clients.
Yeah.
So win-win-win. So what this looks like is essentially you have your main public offer. You're going to take that main public offer and make something a little bit more enticing. It's not necessarily a sale. We can always have a value add instead of just like a Kohl's/discount.
Sure.
And you're going to offer this special offer to their supporters, and they're going to help you market it. So it's important that you come up with like the images and the marketing, like copy, and just really hand them everything. Like, here's what you need. Please help spread the word, because they're all really busy. They don't have time to like write an email for you. You need to like write that stuff up of what you want them to share. Then of course allow them to tweak it if they need be. But basically they're sharing that, and then have some sort of urgency of an expiring, like, you have to book within the next 7 days, whatever it is, or there's only a certain number. People contact you, and you basically just take them through your normal education process, your normal experience. And they're just getting just a little bit of a better session fee offer. If you're doing a product credit, maybe it's a little bit extra product credit. Like, it can look in so many different ways. It's just a little bit better of an offer than what it is just a general publicly available offer. And I have found those have brought in like my absolute target client. It reaches all of my session averages, all of my goals. And it's just really fun and easy. And you can literally rinse and repeat. Once you set this up, you can do a different rescue or a different organization each quarter, each month, and you're getting your business out in front of all these different people, and it's automatically building that connection with them. And then now you're building your business, you're getting the momentum in your business. Now you're going to start getting referrals from more and more people. Everyone in the market's going to say, oh, pet photography, oh, family photography. And like, your name's going to come up to the top of mind because they've seen it in so many places.
Right. And so when you partner with, let's say this small to medium sized rescue, what is the benefit to them other than sort of being able to offer their people some kind of a deal? Is this something where Yeah.
Some of the money goes to them.
Okay.
So
That's what I
I
figured.
usually do an amount, like if it's a $200 session fee to book, like either they get all of it or they get half of it. Or the one that's worked really well for me was, I think at the time my regular session fee was $175 and it was just a straight session fee. And I think then at the time I made it as a $99 session fee, and that became a full donation to the rescue. Plus then I think they got a $200 product credit or something. So it was like a really good offer for them. And again, people look at that and they're like, Nicole, but weren't you worried that they were just going to get whatever the lowest price was and like you weren't going to make any money? It's like, well, no, because I knew my numbers. And I also was very confident in what my average sale was, and knew that if I took people through the experience that I created, that they would 9 times out of 10 get pretty darn close to that average sale. So,
and I want to just like time out right there and underline what you're saying, which is that these strategies that you're describing, these marketing strategies, are all dependent on you first having a process in place for both like the sales process and then also that fulfillment process. Like, how are you going to deliver in such a way that you can, with relative accuracy, predict what you're going to end up with on the other end? And it's not going to just be like, oh, great, I just booked 15 new clients through this deal, and now I don't really have any great way to take them through and make sure that this is going to be beneficial and profitable for me. So it is important to make sure that your ducks are in a row on the back end, because also if you end up bringing those people in and they don't have a great experience, that's not going to end up turning into either repeat business or referral business, which is really, what you're doing when you get into these groups is hopefully starting to mushroom, the name of your business, just like you were just suggesting.
For sure. But I do want to caution people, the one piece though, because I see so many, I'm sure you see students doing this too, where they have their ducks in a row, but they feel like they don't. They're just like, well, I'm just not ready. So if you're not sure, ask a trusted mentor.
Right.
We will tell you. But yeah, I think you definitely do want to make sure that you have a way to take these people through your process, which you can do as you're starting out, practice with your portfolio building people. Like, I personally believe like you should start practicing some sort of sales of whatever sales system you want to do with your clients, like as soon as possible with those free portfolio building clients. Maybe the prices are different, or maybe what you're offering is different, but you're getting practice doing that. You're starting to get these numbers. You're starting to realize what you need to do to educate your clients through the process, because none of us are selling photographs. Like, we are selling something so much more than that. You're selling for family photography. You're selling that moment in time.
Yeah.
Because, we were just talking about our kids are about the same age, and they're, we have a whole bunch of teenagers and high school kids. And we're like, oh my God, like those pictures come up on your phone when they were like 6, and you're like, they're
like
so
a dagger.
Cute. I know, look at her.
Yeah.
And my son he hasn't quite had his whole voice change, and he's about to shoot up like a foot this year. I know, but I'm you can't. No, I'm going to stun your growth because you can't. But you're selling so much more. So you have to like get used to talking to your prospective clients about what you're really selling, which is that emotion.
Yeah.
I would go even further. I'm going to speak pet photography because I'm even more familiar with all the different spots there. But like, I know, some pet photographers that it is like all about an outdoor hiking adventure. It's all about like a water session, or it's all about this. For me personally, well, there's some photographers that are like, it's all about the album and the story, where I want to sell the artwork. And I'm actually starting to reposition all the messaging in my business around like, I'm an interior designer that is going to design this wall piece for you. Like, so much so that the workflow of my business is changing to, we talk about it, we book our consult, and on our consult, I'm looking at your wall, then I'm showing you, like, we're looking at different color schemes, different framing, like we're planning your wall piece before we decide where we're going to have the session. Because if your house is all neutrals, grays and whites and cool, like putting a backlit, warm, golden, gooey artwork on the wall is not going to match.
Right.
So I'm actually selling now interior design more so than dog photographs.
I love that.
So all of that comes too from practicing,
Yeah.
getting out there and shooting, deciding what you love, deciding if you love the albums or you love the adventure, you love the wall art. Like that's the only way we can start to get that clarity, which that was just my tangent.
No. I love it. And I love that idea of really sort of, well, this keeps coming up. It's one of those that I keep talking to people in the last few weeks about, like the intersection of our talents. And sometimes that intersection is really where the magic happens, where you're like, oh, I'm really good at this. Usually one of them is photography, right? And then I have these one or two other talents. Like, how can I find where those things cross, where they meet, and sell myself and my business based on that? And I think you can find them in some surprising places. So
yeah, and if you're not,
design is certainly a handy one.
Yeah. And I'm not a trained interior designer. I just love it.
Yeah.
And I trust myself now because I've been doing it so long of like, oh, I can put together some things and know what would look good and help design colors. And my gosh, doing this job for 13 years, like we built a new house when we moved down here and we have the LED lights and they all have this like magenta glow. And I walked in the house the first time, I'm like, nope. I can't live like this. My closet is pink.
Yeah. And it could be worse than magenta for sure. There are like bad light bulbs make me cringe really hard.
Oh my God, this is terrible. Oh, but anyway, I had a point.
Yeah.
And that was, if you're not sure where those talents are, like just follow your interests.
Yes.
Like, what are you interested in? Are you interested in learning more about like beautiful album design or high end this, or like just follow those interests, and that's where your talents are going to be. They just might just need to be developed.
Yeah. Awesome. Before we close, I want to take at least a few minutes here just to talk a little bit about the sort of bigger picture charitable work that you're doing these days. And I want you to talk to us a little bit about the summit that you have coming up.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So let me condense this down into like a real quick story here. I was at a mastermind event, which is other online entrepreneurs, other online educators. And I was chatting with a friend there that's also a photographer, and they do some charitable work in Africa with some conservation organizations. And we were like, oh my God, that'd be amazing. And I told them, I used to work in the zoo world. If you need any contacts in the zoo or conservation world, like I can help. And I went to bed that night. I woke up at 4 a.m. I'm like, whoa. I've got a giant platform of animal loving photographers, and I have all the contacts, like really all over the world, of people that have worked in the zoo world, which works very closely with the conservation world. And my heart is 100% in wildlife. And it's like, I need to create a nonprofit. So anyway, I created a nonprofit, the Hair of the Dog Conservation Fund. We support wild animals, conservation projects all over the globe. And the summit is our main fundraiser each year for that, which the Hair of the Dog Summit is this year, 2-day business only event. So it is not just for pet photographers. It is for any photographer that's in business, because we are talking all about pricing and marketing and SEO, website design, like all of the things. The summit will be September 26th and 27th, and you can get more information at the links in the show notes.
Excellent. Yes, we will put those in there, and I will make sure that I put that out on social media too, because it's coming right up, and I have heard nothing but amazing stuff about your summits, and I'm excited to teach.
Well, and you're going to be part of it, so it's going to be incredible.
And I'm joined by several other teachers that I'm very honored to be alongside. Nicole, I am so happy that we finally got you on the show. I am excited to further this relationship because all of the things you're doing are so cool. Let everybody know where they can find you online and on social.
Absolutely. So www.hairofthedogacademy.com, all sorts of free resources there. We have our podcast there, which again is all business and mindset based. And we also on Instagram, it's me at Nicole Begley Official.
Love it. Okay. Those will be in the show notes as well. And I will have you back on the show sooner rather than later. So it was great chatting with you.
You too. Thanks.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of This Can't Be That Hard. I'll be back same time, same place next week. In the meantime, you can find more information about this episode, along with all the relevant links, notes, and downloads at thiscan'tbethathard.com/learn. If you like the podcast, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Even better, share the love by leaving a review in iTunes. And as always, thanks so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic week.